Hello friends, welcome to the channel DevOps Consultancy and Solution. So far, I have covered what are the different types of agent in Azure DevOps, how to create and configure self-hosted agents. Then I covered how to create Azure DevOps YAML pipeline, and you can learn everything in detail from zero to hero in these two videos, part 1 and part 2. Next, I have covered how to create the template and reusable module for tasks, how to create the templates and reusable modules for jobs, and how to create the templates and reusable modules for stages. I also covered how to create the template and reusable module for variables. It is a very key important piece with tasks, jobs, and stages because many times there is a requirement to create the modules at project level or at organization level. I also covered one real-time scenario, how to run two pipelines in a sequential and how to run two pipelines in a parallel together, or how to schedule your pipeline job. In this video, we will discuss another real-time problem that I have faced during Azure DevOps Pipeline, or maybe many of you faced or may will face in future. Okay, the issue is how to pass the output value of any script or program from one job to another in a pipeline. As you know, Azure Pipeline has stages, jobs, and tasks or steps. So there may be a scenario in which you are running any shell or PowerShell or any script in a job which gives some output. Now question is how to use that output in another job or stage in a same pipeline, or even how to pass that generated output to another pipeline and use it. Let's go to the notepad and see what are we going to achieve so you have a better understanding of the problem statement. Okay, so in Azure pipeline we have stages. So in stages we have jobs, and in jobs we have tasks. So it can be task 1 or task 2. Sorry, it will come here. So task or script 3, right? So let's say in this task you run some script which generates some value, output value x, right? So this task 1 has generated one output value x, right? So you want to use this output value in task 2. So how can you use it? So that we will learn in this example. Other problem is, so let's say you have another job which is job 2. So in that task you want to use this output value x. So how to use it? Or in another stage you have job, you have task, and in that task you want to use this value x. So how to use it? So and in last example we will learn how to integrate another pipeline 2 with pipeline 1. So pipeline 1 will trigger pipeline 2, and in that pipeline how to use this output value x. So how to integrate two pipeline and pass the output value from one pipeline to another. So that we will learn in this demo. So let's get started. For that we need to log into our Azure DevOps. So I already logged in. So this is my organization name, DevOps Consultancy and Solution, and this is my project, DevOps CNS. So before I proceed, I will let you know that all the YAML code will be uploaded into the GitHub repository, and I will provide the link into the description. Please feel free to check and test it on your local environment. Okay, so I will click on the DevOps CNS project, right? First I will create the repository. So I will click on the link repo. So I will go here to the manage repository here. I will click on the right side, there is a button to create repository. So I will click on the name repository and I will give its name output value demo pipeline 1, right? And I will click on button create. So the repository has been created. So I go into the repository. So now I will create the file. So I will create a new file here. So I will give the file name first pipeline 1.yml. So I will click on create. So I have the code ready. So I will just copy the code and explain you each and every line. So I just copy the code here. So first is the trigger. So I'm just triggering it from the main branch. So whenever I commit the code into the main, so my pipeline will trigger. And next is the pool. So I'm running my pipeline on my self-hosted agent, which I created the pool. And next is the stages. So as I explained in my previous video, so any pipeline has stages, jobs, and the steps or tasks. So I just create only one stage, which is I gave its name first pipeline stage 1, and display name is first pipeline stage 1. So in this stage, I created a single job and give a name generate value, because in this job I will run a task or to create a runtime value which I will store into a variable. In another job or stage, I will refer this variable and see how we can use the output of this variable in another jobs and stages. So in these steps, I have added this script. So in this script, I am going to run the date command and store the date and time into a variable which we will refer further. So in the line number 15, I am running a date command to print it on the screen for your reference to see what is the value. And then in the next line, at line number 16, I am storing this date and time into a variable. Let's see what does this command do. VSO indicates it's a Visual Studio Online in the Azure DevOps command, and task.set variable tells the agent to set the pipeline variable. So next is variable equal to my output var. So this defines the name of the variable that you are setting. You can set any name. In this case, the variable name is my output variable. And next is output true. So this one is output true. So this flag makes the variable an output variable, allowing it to be passed between jobs and stages in the pipeline. So if I don't set this output variable, so without is output true, the variable would be limited to its current job only. So if I don't pass this, if I don't set this flag is output true, then I can't use this my output variable in another job or the stages, and its scope will be restricted to this job only. I'm just executing this command date and time. So I'm fetching the date and time, which I'm storing into the my output variable. So next variable I'm using is intro variable, which I just print the variable welcome to DevOps CNS. So again, I am set in the line number 18. I am setting this variable as an output to the intro variable. So why I'm using this one? So to show you in the demo that in the line number 16, we can create or we can run the command and get the output into a variable, or in this 17 or 18 line, I'm just trying to show you that if any variable value is already set, then how we can use and pass it into a set into the output variable. At the line number 19, I am running the sleep command to wait for 60 seconds and again running the date command to print as a message. The purpose of this is to show you, just for demo purpose, the date which I created at line number 15 is being referred in the rest of the pipeline. And this is the name of the step, generated timestamp. Okay, so I will commit this code and run the pipeline so you can see what is the output, and then I will modify this YAML file and run the pipeline again so we can see use these variables in the another jobs and stages. So I will commit the code. So code has been committed, right? So I will click here on the right side. So I'm just opening it pipelines into a new window, right? So here I will create the new pipeline. I will click on the right side top. There is a button new pipeline. I will click here new pipeline. I will select here Azure repository Git. So my repository is output value demo. Right. So it is giving me two options: starter pipeline or existing Azure pipeline YAML. So I have already the Azure pipeline YAML existed. So I will click here. So it is asking for the path. So the path is first pipeline.yaml. So this is the file. So I will click on continue. So now I will click on the button run. So now the pipeline will start it. So it is asking for permissions. So I will click here and give the permission. I permit here. Now you can see the pipeline has been triggered. So here you can see the code which is at the line number 15, the date, and at the line number 16 it set that value into the variable. So this is the date. Okay, so now the next command, which is the sleep 60, it is waiting for the 60 seconds. So after that another date will be there. So this first date that I am setting it into a variable that we will use into the next jobs. So now this step is completed, and now we will modify the our YAML file. So I will click on the edit. So here what I will do, I will add another step. So now what we will do, we will pass this output variable and use that variables into the another step. So the same job, another step. So how we can use that? So this is the piece of code that we need to use. So in the second task, I am printing the output of a variable which I generated in previous or first task and show you how to use it. For that, you need to refer it as a $sign with round brackets, name of the previous task or script, dot name of the variable. So in this demo, it is generate timestamp dot my output variable. Generate timestamp is the name of the task and my output variable is name of the variable. Similarly, I am using a second variable which is intro variable. So it will refer as generate timestamp dot intro variable. So generate timestamp is name of the task and intro variable is name of the variable. So I will commit this code. And if I go back to the pipeline, because in the pipeline I already mentioned trigger main. So as I commit the code, the pipeline will trigger. So this is the date. So just note down 12th Feb 2025 and time is 22:37 GMT. So this is the date and time that we will see the output into the second step. So this is the second step. So here you can see the output used in another task is the same date and time. So date is same, today's 12th February 2025 and the time is 22:37, which is the same, and the introduction message is welcome to the DevOps CLS. So if we compare the time, date and time, so time is same. First one, which is the 22:37. Now we will go back to our repository and modify our code again to see how we can use this output into a second job. So now I will click on the edit. So I will add here the another job. So this is the second job which I have created. So second job name is use value in another job, and it depends upon generate value, which is the name of the first job. Next is the display name, which is use generate value in another job. Next is to set the variables. In this, I have created two variables, my timestamp and intro variables, which will refer the output variable of previous jobs. Now see how to refer them. So to use them, we will use dollar sign with square bracket, use keyword dependencies, dot name of previous job, which is generate value, dot another keyword outputs, again square bracket, name of previous task, dot name of the variable, which is generate timestamp dot my output variable, and close both square brackets. Similarly, second variable will be dollar sign square bracket dependencies keyword dot generate value, which is name of the previous job, dot another keyword outputs square bracket generate timestamp dot intro variable, and close the square bracket. So it will be read as a dollar sign square bracket dependencies dot generate value dot outputs generate value sorry generate timestamp dot my output variable. So variables are set now, and we will use them in the steps. So in step, I am using a script to print the message on console. For that, I am using echo keyword and use and print message use timestamp and with variable my timestamp. Similarly, second command is introduction message is dollar sign round bracket intro variable. So I will commit the code and see how the pipeline is running and what is the output. If I go to the pipeline, so pipeline is triggered. See, now we have two jobs. So first job is generate runtime value, and another is use generated value in another job. So this is the first task which is running script. So we will see here the time. What is the time? So time here is 22:43. So this will be the time that we will see in the output of the second job. Pipeline is completed. So we can see the time was 22:43, and if we go to the second step, the same time is 22 hours 43 minutes. Now we will see in the output of the another job. So if we go to the output of the another job, so name was print timestamp, and here you can see the timestamp is 22:43, and the introduction message is same, welcome to the DevOps CNS. So hope you can understand how we can use the output of the command in from one job to another, right? So now I will show you how we can use this output into the another stage, right? For that, I will click on the edit. So this is the second stage which I added here. So it is the first pipeline stage 2, and the display name is first pipeline stage 2, and this stage depend on the stage 1, and stage 1 name was first pipeline stage 1. So if we go here up, the first pipeline stage name was first pipeline stage 1, right? Next is the jobs in the second stage. Job name is use value in another stage, and display name is use generated value in another stage. Next is to set the variables. In this demo example, I have created two variables, my timestamp and intro variables, which will refer the output variable of previous stage task. Now we will see how to refer them. To use them, use dollar sign with square bracket, use keyword stage dependency, dot name of the previous stage, dot name of the previous job, which is generate value, dot another keyword outputs, again square bracket, name of the previous task, dot name of the variable, which is generate timestamp dot my output variable, and close both the square bracket. Similarly, second variable will look like dollar sign, square bracket, stage dependency, which is a keyword, dot first pipeline stage 1, which is name of the stage, dot generate value, which is name of the job in first stage, dot outputs, which is again a keyword, dot generate timestamp, which is name of the task or a script, dot intro variable, which is name of the variable. This is the second variable. Now variables are set and we will use them in the steps. So in step, I am using script to print message on console. For that, I am using the keyword echo and message use timestamp in another stage with variable my timestamp. Similarly, second command is introduction message is dollar sign round brackets intro variables. So I will commit the code and go to the pipeline and see how the pipeline is running. Now you can see in the pipeline I have two stages. So first stage is first pipeline stage 1 and second stage is first pipeline stage 2. In stage 1 I have two jobs. First is generate runtime value and the second job is use generated value in another job. So runtime generated value will generate runtime date and time value, which I will refer in another job and also in the second stage. Okay, now the pipeline job is finished. So we will see, uh, as we see the timestamp was generated, output was 22 hours 52 minutes. So same into the second step, we will see the timestamp is 22 hours 52 minutes. And similarly, if we go to the job, so the print time is 22 hours 52 minutes. And similarly, now if I go to the second stage and print timestamp in another stage script, so here you can see the timestamp is 22 hours 52 minutes. Right. So in this way, we can use that output value in from one job to another job or into another stage. So now we will see how we can pass this output value from one pipeline to the another pipeline. Sometimes in CI and CD we have where we have these separate pipelines. So in the CI pipeline we generate the artifacts and give the version number to it. So that version number, like v1 or v1.0.0, so that version number we need to pass to the CD pipeline so the deployment pipeline can trigger. So which artifact need to be deployed? So based how it will pick it up. So based on the value which will pass from. So for that, what we will need to do is first I will modify this pipeline, right? I need to modify this code and also I need to create the repository for the second pipeline. So first I will create the repository for the second pipeline. So I will just go here I will click on new repository. I give the name here output value demo pipeline 2, right? So I click on create. So I will click on this. I will create a new file. I give the name here second pipeline .yaml, right? Click on create. So empty file. Okay, so now I will copy the code here and explain you what I'm trying to do here. So first I will add the resources here. So resources is the pipeline. So what does it mean that how I want to integrate two pipelines? So after pipeline 1, this second pipeline will trigger, right? So pipeline name will be the second pipeline and the source is the first pipeline, which is our output value demo pipeline 1, and this pipeline is output value demo pipeline 2, right? And the project is DevOps CNS, because my both pipelines are in this same project, so I'm giving here the name DevOps CNS. But if you have a pipeline in a separate project, then you should need to provide the project name of a source pipeline. Next keyword is trigger true, which means trigger second build pipeline on completion of source pipeline. Next, I set the trigger none, so I don't want to trigger second pipeline when the code will change. But the pipeline will trigger once the first pipeline completes and trigger it. Next, I set the pool name self-hosted agent. In this, I have one stage named second pipeline and one job whose name is second pipeline job. Next is the step. In these steps, I have two steps or the task mentioned. First task is to download pipeline artifacts from pipeline, and the second is scripts to print the variable on a console output. I am using the task to download the pipeline artifacts. Okay, so before we will jump here, I will show you what are the changes required into the first pipeline code. So it will be better you can understand it into the what does it the download pipeline artifact mean. So first, in the pipeline one source code, we have to make a changes that it will upload the artifacts. So we have to save the artifacts and upload it. So I will go to the pipeline demo one, the first pipeline, right? So I will click on the edit, right? So what changes we need to do here? So I will show you, right? So what I have did, I have created this four variables. So in the first variable, I am storing the output of my first variable, which is this one, my output variable, which is a time one, and storing this key value pair, like variable one and its value into the output.txt file. Similarly, in the variable two equals the introduction message into the output.txt. So how it will look like? It will look like variable one equals, so variable one will be like this into this text file. Similarly, variable two will be like message welcome to DevOps CNS, right? So similarly, these in this way, key value pair of the variables will be stored into the text file. So this variable one and its value will be the date and time is stored into the output.txt. Variable 2, which is the introduction message, that is stored into the output.txt. And I am creating another variable, variable 3. What its will be value is build.definition name. So this build which I am running, so let's if you have an experience of the Jenkins, then you can know that every build has its own name and we have the build ID. So sometimes we need to use that build ID. So similarly, in the Azure DevOps, this is a predefined variables name, which is the build.definition name. So I'm fetching this name and storing into a value into the variable 3. That key value pair I'm storing into the output.txt. Similarly, build ID I'm using variable 4, and that I'm fetching through the build.build ID, right? So again, in the output.txt, now I have four key value pairs: variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, and variable 4. So next task is publish this pipeline artifact. So I am publishing this artifact. So how it works is I have to define the target path for the output file. So this task name is publish pipeline artifact. In the input attribute, target path will be output.txt, because I am running it into the same workspace location. So I am using the output. So if I am storing into a different path, so I have to give that path name here, right? So artifact is shared artifact. So I'm using here the artifact as a shared artifact. So this is the change that I need to make into the pipeline one. right? And now if I go to the second pipeline, so now you can understand that how I am get what is the download pipeline artifact means. So what artifacts which I publish, so that I am downloading into the second pipeline, right? So in the second pipeline I am using a task download pipeline artifact, so which it will download. So build type I'm using specific, and the project name is DevOps CNS. So next attribute is pipeline. So pipeline attribute, we need the pipeline ID. Pipeline ID will get from the resources dot, so name of this second pipeline. So second pipeline will be our output hyphen value hyphen demo hyphen pipeline 2. So I'm using resources dot pipeline, second pipeline name dot pipeline ID. So I will get the pipeline ID. As I mentioned earlier, so artifact is shared artifacts. So while what will be the path? So path will be the pipeline dot workspace. So it the artifacts will be downloaded into the workspace directory, right? So then the display name will be download artifacts. Now next is how to print and second script. So I'm using the second script to display those values into the as a print message on the screen. So the source will be the output or output.txt file. So where the output.txt file is the path where I downloaded. So path here it is the pipeline.workspace. So this will be the complete path, the $sign pipeline.workspace slash output.txt. So it will read the output.txt file and then it will start printing the messages. So first message will be the variable one, which is the timestamp. Second message is the introduction message, which is stored its key name is variable 2, and third is the main pipeline. So name, so which is the main first pipeline output value demo. So its name will be print here, and the build number of the CI pipeline or the main pipeline build number, right? So I will commit here. So I commit the second pipeline first because second pipeline will not trigger because I set the trigger none, right? So I will commit now the first pipeline. So before we commit the first pipeline, I will quickly create the pipeline for the second repository. So I will go to the pipeline. So I will click on the new pipeline, Azure repository, output demo. So I already have the file. So I click here. So the path it will be second pipeline, continue, and yeah, so it is the same. So it is saying I'm giving a save. So I'm not executing it right now, right? Now I will commit the code into the first pipeline. So it will trigger. So I commit here and commit. So now the pipeline 1 will be triggered. So if I click here on the output value demo, so now the pipeline has been triggered. So now you can see the pipeline is triggered. So if I go here, I can see the timestamp. So this the timestamp is 23 hours 15 minutes, right? So we will see how we will see this output into the rest of the jobs stages and the another pipeline. Artifact has been published. So here you can see the artifact is published now, right? It store the all the values and it published, and now it will trigger the in the second step we can see the same timestamp is 23 hours 15 minutes. Now the second job has been triggered, and if we see the timestamp of the second job is in the print timestamp, it is 23 hours 15 minutes. So now the second job is also finished. Now this second stage has been triggered. If you go to the stage task, so here you can see the message is 23 hours 15 minutes, which is a use timestamp in another job. So now this pipeline is finished we can see the pipeline. Go to the pipeline and see the second pipeline, which is the output value demo pipeline 2. It is also triggered. So we click on the output demo file pipeline. So we go to the state. So it is looking for the permission. So I will permit the permissions here. So now the permissions has been permitted. So job has been triggered. So now the job has been completed. So in the first task, the artifact has been downloaded, right? And in the second task, where I'm printing the message, here you can see the timestamp. So using timestamp in another stage, it is saying the 23:15 and introductory message is welcome to DevOps CNS. And the fourth variable is the name of the pipeline, which is the output value demo pipeline 1, and the build number is 299. So you have seen how I pass the variables from one pipeline to another. So it is really very helpful when we want to interconnect two pipelines, but we also want to pass the output value from one pipeline to the another, so we can use it, right? So I hope you understand it. So it is little bit tricky, but when we go through the source code, you can understand how we can use that dependencies and how we can use the stage dependencies and use that generated output into the variable, store into a variable or use into the jobs. Hope this session was useful for you. If you have any doubt, write your query into the comment section. I will answer it. So please don't forget to check the source code into the GitHub repository. It will really help you to understand. It's tricky and it's really difficult to understand, but once you go through the source code, it will be very easy to understand and you can use in your pipelines. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And also share this knowledge with your friends. Stay tuned. Happy learning. Keep learning.